In this video, we're going to be looking at acceptance testing where our web page contains JavaScript. So I've created quite a simple page here. And what we've got is a save button, simple Symfony form here with one element, which is a checkbox. Then we've got another element, which is the button. So if we click save, we get this rendered off to the page. It's technically not rendered. This is some content that's hidden. So if I just refresh this, we can look in the source and you will see that that text actually exists in the source as it is. You must tick this box to continue. So it's hidden by default, and if we've not ticked this box, there's a little JavaScript that will show this box. So let's show you that JavaScript now. It's just in our Codeception is awesome bundle, resources, public, show flash.js, and literally all it's doing is showing that box depending on whether that we've ticked or checked the checkbox. So nothing untoward there, nothing complicated. It's just a bog standard bit of jQuery. And then we've got another element on the page which says click me. Okay, what I'll just do is I'll just tick that box and then show you what happens. If we tick it properly, then inside our controller, then we add this informational message, and that renders off to the page itself via, if we look at the template, we can see that when we render this page, it's going to go through all the messages in the flashbag and just render them off there. So what's interesting here is that whilst we have a bit of JavaScript which shows and hides that content, the content itself is already on the page, and then the content after we've done the click is rendered into the HTML itself. So there's nothing really JavaScripty going on here, and this can lead, or other than the show and hide, well, just the show side of things, but this can lead to a situation where we're getting a false positive, because technically the text already exists on the page. So when we do a check for that text, it is going to see that the text is there because it pays no attention to its CSS attributes. So what I'll do is I will write a quick test, and let's just double check that our acceptance suite is configured properly. So we're using the PHP Browser. Yep, we're all good there. And what I'm going to do is generate a assessed file, because we've not used one of them yet. Then the Codeception, and then we're going to generate assessed in the acceptance suite, and we're just going to call it false positive. Okay, so we've got this false positive assessed. I'm going to download that, make sure that we've got it. Download, all good, and then we'll stick that in there, and we'll just give it a quick rename as well, so that we're all good. Okay, so we've got that file created, and let's have a quick look into it. So pretty much the same as before, except this time it's class based. So we're going to say I want to check for the existence of our warning message. Okay, so we can do this, and it's going to display this message, and that's what we want to check for. You must tick this box to continue. Okay, so we can then say I click, and then if we look at what that button is, so I'm going to use Firebug, and I'm just going to click on the button, just go over it like that, and then we can see the ID is form_saves. I'm just going to copy that out. Just going to put that in as an ID. Add in our semicolon. We want to make sure that we're actually testing something, so I am on page, and then the root, and finally I see, and then we want to be looking for some text. So let's just go across there and click this text that we were expecting to see, paste that in. Cool, we've now got a test which we should hopefully get a pass on. And Codeception, and then we want to do run. Okay, so we've got a passing test, which is kind of cool. So we can go back and let's just double check something here. We know when we first load this page that effectively we're not seeing anything at the top. So let's just get rid of this iClick form save and rerun the test. Now you may be thinking, well, that shouldn't have passed, but it does. Kind of weird, but it's not kind of weird because it goes back to what I've been saying about PHP Browser. And what the problem is here is that when PHP Browser loads up the HTML that it's looking at to do the test, it literally just loads the HTML from the top to the bottom. And this HTML by default includes this hidden message, which is hidden from view from a human, but to a computer you can still see this text. And that's where the text, that's why that test is passing, because it's pulling that text out of there, and that's a passing test. Now, the way around this is to firstly put that back in, but then if we go in and do the acceptance test, swap it over to WebDriver, just bring that back in. If you're unsure on that, just watch the Selenium video again, and then just rerun that test, and it's going to open up the browser very quickly, and there we go. We can see that the test passed. So now if we take out that, like we did before, take out the form save, rerun the test, this time it will fail. Okay, let's have a quick look. So it's failed. So you must tick the box to continue. So that's the issue really with testing with PHP Browser. You can end up in this situation where you're getting some false positive results because of the way that it parses, and that's a good example of that in action. So with that in mind, just be super careful really that what you're testing is as expected, and it's just one of the things to be aware of. Sometimes you'll get a test just randomly when you're testing, and you're like, oh, that's weird, because that should definitely have failed. And it could be like, a few days, few weeks, even after you've made some changes, and suddenly a test, when you're working through them, a test that should definitely be failing in your head is passing, and you're like, what the hell is happening there? But that's possibly one of the reasons why, because unexpected little things like that can and do catch you out in the real world.